So good evening, everybody who's joining us from the Stafford community and some of you from beyond. Um, Thank you so much. We want to welcome you here and invite you to familiarize yourself with the Zoom platform if this is new for you. We will be utilizing the raise your hand feature during public comment and question time. So you'll just want to make sure you find where that is if you plan on asking questions or making any comments. The raise your hand feature is located usually in the lower right hand portion of your screen. On some devices, some Apple devices, it's in the upper portion of your screen. So you'll just want to find that and find that before you're ready to use it. That way I know to call on you and allow and unmute your mic so that you can speak to the group. So again, if you want to utilize the raise your hand feature, that's the best way to make a comment. If you can't do that, you can also utilize chat, and I'm happy to read the questions for you. So if you put your questions in chat, I'm happy to help with that also. So again, welcome to the Stafford Hamlet Community Meeting and CPO meeting, and I'll hand it over to Bill.
Thanks. As Katie said, thanks so much for coming. So our first portion is our community meeting, then we'll transfer our energies into the CPO portion, and finally it'll be the Hamlet board meeting. The community meeting tonight has an ongoing piece about the heritage and history of the Hamlet, and that's going to be taken on by Mark Brown with a bit of follow-up, and certainly there's some opportunity for questions too, but some follow-up from Rick Cook. Our guest speaker tonight is Jonathan Hangartner from Clackamas County's Department of Transportation, and we'll have a little piece from Carol Yamada and her efforts to get a sign or a kiosk at Lesher Farm. So, Mark, if you're
actually
ready.
Bill, I'm gonna lead off, and then Mark will follow up because I'm gonna do the little quiz first.
Oh, okay, very good.
So next time, Katie, we can make that switch where I'll always kind of introduce that thing. So, Katie Wilson, if you could bring up those first slides there, since we'll get into the Eugene Wine Cellars history section of the month here, since they are the ones that are promoting our drawing of a bottle of wine after this. So since there are the bridges of Madison County, but we have the roads of Stafford Hamlet. So as you can see that there's a list of all the roads in the area, but in working with Mark, a lot of questions about why roads were named what they were named. So two little questions for you. So Katie, you can roll to the first quiz question. This is something that I found, and some things never change. If you look at the little wagon there, we have tolling on I-205. Well, if you go back to your history books, you'll find out that they did road bonds way back when, and you'll have a chance to be the first question there. So their goal was to pull Clackamas out of the mud, and I'm not going to read those to you, but it also was a way to get their produce to the markets. And that once you had the vote, you could, if it passed, you could have good roads your entire life. So the first question is, what year was this voted on? Was it 1859, 1900, 1919, or 1925? And we only have the poll on the second one. So if you happen to guess A, you're wrong. And if you also pick D, that's a good guess, but that was just before the 1920 crash, so that one's not right. And lo and behold, 1900 was too early. So 1919, it was first floated the bonds about getting good roads, and it was done by actually the farmers were the ones that were pushing hard to get their crops to market. So now the second one will be the next question that will kind of lead to Mark. So some great pictures there for you. So early on when Mark and I were doing some of this archiving stuff and some of the family things, is why were roads, 2-lane roads paved only on one side? And so we did some research and things. And so one of the questions was, or one of the answers we thought was, maybe it was because there was property easement issues, or there wasn't enough money to pave both lanes, or the wagons headed to market were too heavy, or that they needed a lane to herd their livestock on, and when it rained, it was a little slippery for them. So on this one, you have a poll, so you can select an answer, I think, Katie, with any luck. So just click on that, and then we can see how smart we are. So A would be the easement issues. B would be that they just didn't have enough money. C would be that the wagons were too heavy on the way. And D was that the lanes had to be so you could herd their livestock. And can you show the selection of the answers there, Katie? See how smart we are. Getting closer. And
Can you see?
Yes, so we had 57% had the correct meaning. And Katie, if you could slide that out so we could show that middle picture of the cabbage wagon. It was Charlie Cruz. And I will let Mark tell that story and the rest of the history of the roads in Clackamas County. So here's the doctor of documentation, Mark Brown.
Hello, y'all. How are you doing? First question tonight. What were the first roads in Oregon? Anybody know? The very first roads, what were they?
Weren't they farm to market roads?
No, they were the rivers. So the first roads were very wet, pretty much like all of the dirt roads that were mud. But as soon as people got here, you sort of have to think back, what was this place like in its original state? And the only way you could go anywhere 10 feet inland was to use the rivers. So that was the big draw. That's why all of the DLCs, all the way from Portland, all the way down the rivers, were on the rivers. If they could establish a foothold there, then they could begin to go inland. And once they started to do that, they followed pretty much the native trails that were already an extant transportation system. They were already built over, 2,000 or 3,000 years. They had already been done. The roads in Oregon are, there's 10 classifications, all the way from the native trails all the way to the super freeways. And in the middle of all of that, there's all kinds of various variations of territorial roads, county roads, market roads, toll roads, and on and on and on. So in the Hamlet, I have done some work on the families, of course, all of the families that are there. And there's probably 15 to 18 roads in the Hamlet that are named after the early settlers that were there, and even the settlers into the 1930s, the people that were second, third, and fourth generation pioneer people. That of all of those roads, the ones that Shipley and Witten and the Long Farm and the Johnson and McVeigh and the X and all of those sort of things were the only way these people could get their produce and their animals and survive. They had to have roads. So once they established those, and some of them were literally only 4 feet wide initially. Stafford Road itself was just sort of the final variation. It started out as a market road with a small m, and then it became the Market Road with a capital M, and then it was the Wilsonville Road, and then it was the Own Road. And the Own Road was pretty much what most people know it as. That's the Oregon, Wilsonville, and Newburgh Road, the connection down there. Then George Alexander Steele came in. He was a very rags to riches story, went to Portland, made a whole lot of money, and then bought a whole lot of land on the other side of the Tualatin River. And he basically, Stafford Road is named after him. And Stafford, he came from Stafford, Ohio, loved his birthplace and his original house and farm and that sort of thing. So he named Stafford Road, Stafford Road. This week was kind of an interesting journey. The other road that I've been trying to nail down for a while is Rosemont. Does anybody know how Rosemont got its name? Well, nobody does. You know, I've written to the West Lynn people, and I wrote to Steve Dietz this week, and half a dozen other people trying to figure out how Rosemont got its name, and nobody really knows. However, I have a clue. There was a family on the east side of the hamlet called the William Robinson family. And the only reference to Rosemont I can possibly find was that his farm was named Rosemont Farm. And it was later called the Rosemont Ranch. And then it's its own little section now, Rosemont. So I think that's the origin of it. I think the development of Rosemont Acres came maybe 10 to 15 years after they left. So Rosemont, I still need to do a whole lot of work on the origin of Rosemont, but I think that's where it comes from. There's a couple newspaper references in the 20s and 30s, but Rosemont itself, or the street itself, was originally called the West Oregon City Hall Road, Rural Fire Department number 5 in the 1910s. In the 1920s, it was a county road. Before all of that, it was a territorial road. Finally, it settled into Rosemont by the 1940s, and then everything followed from there. So one of the things that I would like to do, if one of you would like to, or more of you would like to volunteer, the street names in your community named after families, the Schatz and the Shipleys and all of those sort of things, the Johnson Road. I would like to build a dossier, if you will, of these families, their family histories. And I would like to develop a pamphlet, a Stafford pamphlet for your archives that showcases all of these people and their contributions and why they were so famous, that they actually had streets named after them. Red McVeigh, for example, on the top end of the hamlet. I mean, these are all interesting stories. The Witten family that I briefly told you about last month or so, unbelievably interesting families. So anyway, if anyone would like to contribute time, there's no money involved, and it's not brain surgery. You just have to help develop a pamphlet. I've seen some very good ones in the Tualatin Historical Society. They have developed something like that, and it's really a great source of history for the community. So anybody have any questions? No.
Okay. Well,
we have one hand up. Carol Yamada has her hand up. Hi, Carol.
Hi, I was trying to guess one of the answers. I thought that's how we were.
Oh,
what'd you guess?
I was wrong.
Anyway,
all right.
Briefly, just sort of think about if you can go back far enough and you can think about how unbelievably difficult it was for these people once they got to Oregon City, if they managed to survive, crawled across the river and crawled inland over to Rick's place and had to figure out what to do. They were farmers originally and they knew what to do. But once they've got their crops in, their potatoes done and their broccoli and their cabbage, like the Charlie Cruz picture you saw, they had to load up those wagons with 1,800 pounds of potatoes. And imagine taking 1,800 pounds of potatoes on a muddy road. They went weekly, year-round, all the way up to Portland. So the development of roads was absolutely crucial to the survival of their lives, actually, in the economy of Oregon. So anyway, you all, thank you.
Great stuff, Mark. Bill, did you have a question? You're muted.
I am. See that? There we go. So you met with the Rogels, and
Yes.
that there's anybody that, I mean, given the fact that his dad was, you know, reasonably early in the process to settling. I mean, not compared to a lot of the families, but he was right on the road there. He may have some background, and actually both he and Rosalie were on Rosemont Road to the Rosemont Road question. I mean, I don't know that, but that might be somebody to check back in with.
Well, I did. I enjoyed my talk with him, and it was fascinating. His wife sort of shooed me out after 2 hours because he goes on and on and on, and I'm just riveted by what he has to say. So he's very sentient and very, very historically aware, but he had an appointment. So I would love to go back and continue that as well. He has an interesting meteorite story as well. His father was involved in the Dirty West Lenders stealing the meteorite. So
right. Well, that's cute because A, I can identify with Rosalie having had enough, and B, you have to appreciate that over the years of their marriage, probably there's no story that he's ever told that she hasn't heard at least a few times. So, but anyway, thanks a lot. Well
Hey,
done,
Gil,
Mark.
just real quick, before what a great segue into Jonathan and Ellen from the county to going to talk about roads, I'm assuming. But before that, we have to announce the winner, and drawn out of the hat tonight was Christina Roth, our former liaison.
Right.
So congratulations to
How
Christina
appropriate.
Roth. Christina, I will get in contact with you when you can figure out when you can swing by and pick up your bottle of wine, which again is donated through Eugene Wine Cellars, who now, actually the owner now lives in the CPO of Eugene Wine Cellars. So he's, as the little thing says on the bottom, it says Eugene based with Stafford roots. So thanks to Bruce and Eugene Wine Cellars. And once again, thanks, Mark. Great job.
Yep. Okay, well, Rick kind of did the segue for us. So Jonathan, just because we didn't have you in there initially as a panelist doesn't mean we don't love you. So you're going to share with us at least design ideas as relates to the Stafford project.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for having me this evening. It's nice to join the meeting. I think the last time that Ellen and I were here at one of these Hamlet meetings was January. So it's been a few months, and we've been working very diligently on this Stafford Road improvement project. So I kind of wanted to go over some actual graphics that we've developed. We have a consultant on board for the design, and they've been doing the heavy lifting on this. But I wanted to kind of briefly reintroduce the project, and I am going to try to screen share if I can. So let me know if you can see that. So an overview of the project for those of you who aren't familiar. The funding for this project is Community Road Fund, and that is made possible through the vehicle registration fee. So this is when you go to the DMV and renew your license, this project is possible because of that extra fee. So kind of an overview of the project is it extends from just north of Tualatin River Bridge, which is Petula Way. And that happens to be where the bike lanes kind of drop off. So we're going to pick up widening for those bike lanes at Petula Way, and we're going to go all the way up to the Rosemont Roundabout. And the improvements include adding bike lanes to both sides of the road, a realignment of the Johnson Road intersection. And there's two primary purposes for that. Number one is to reduce the skew and then the steepness of the road. And then number two is to improve the sight distance, so that when you're stopped at Johnson and you're looking at Stafford to see if you can make a safe right turn, we're going to improve that sight distance a little bit. We're also going to add a southbound left turn lane there. So when you're coming southbound on Stafford, we're gonna add a left turn lane onto Johnson. And that will help traffic keep flowing on Stafford during rush hour, so that people don't get backed up waiting for those people trying to take a left on Johnson. Then going up to Childs Road, we're going to either add a signal or we're gonna add a roundabout. And that's for congestion relief and safety improvement. You guys probably are very aware that there's a lot of cars that travel from Childs Road getting onto Stafford and Stafford getting onto Childs, and it gets very congested. And sometimes people get impatient and make turns that aren't very safe. And so either adding a signal or a roundabout is intended to improve that traffic flow and safety. And then we're going to extend those bike lanes all the way up to Rosemont. So that's kind of the general layout of the project. I guess any questions on that from the panel? Because I got some more graphics to share. I'll dive down into the details more of the Childs Road intersection. We have two different options at Childs Road. We can either add a signal or we can add a roundabout. So what you're looking at right here would be a signal configuration. So again, we've eliminated that really extreme skew at the intersection where the intersection doesn't come together at a 90-degree. It comes at a lot less than that. And so we would be straightening up that intersection, and that helps with sight distance and safety. And then we'd be adding the turn lanes required for what the traffic is out there. So you can kind of see there a right turn lane on the Childs, left and right turns from Childs onto Stafford, and then a left turn from Stafford onto Childs. That would be if we went with a signal option. If we went with a roundabout option, it could look something like this. It's kind of on the same alignment that the roads are on right now. And it is a single lane roundabout. There's only one circulating travel lane. However, there are two slip lanes. So going southbound on Stafford onto Childs has its own dedicated lane. And then going from Childs southbound to Stafford has its own dedicated lane. And that's just based on the traffic volumes. So during the AM and the PM peak travel periods, most of the traffic is either going onto Childs from Stafford or from Stafford southbound, or Childs on the southbound Stafford. So that's kind of a potential roundabout layout. This is very preliminary, so this is totally subject to change. We've just kind of been going through different options to get to these options that I'm showing right now. I'll just explain some of the benefits of the roundabout and some of the signal options. So if I go back to the signal, it would be easier to construct because we could build a lot of this new roadway here outside of traffic. So we could build most of the signal and keep traffic flowing the whole time. So that's one of the benefits of the traffic signal. If I go to the roundabout, as you can see, construction staging is quite difficult. And trying to keep traffic flowing on the road while we're constructing would be not only expensive, because the construction workers would have to work a lot slower, it would also be a lot less safe for the traveling public and also for the construction workers. So there's kind of that construction staging trade-off. A signal is more favorable for construction staging. The benefits to the roundabout, however, is that once it's built, it's much safer than a signal. There's a lot less severe accidents, and there's a lot less conflict points. And if there does happen to be an accident in a roundabout, it's typically a rear end crash. Whereas in a signal, you get more severe crashes where someone blows through the light or someone gets hit in the intersection. Another benefit of the roundabout is that it matches the corridor as a whole. So there's roundabouts to the north on Rosemont, and then also to the south of the Tualatin River Bridge. So a roundabout kind of fits kind of the corridor as a whole. So that's kind of a benefit as well. So that's kind of the two options we're looking at the Childs Road intersection. So I'm going to jump back down to the Johnson Road intersection now. And this is a potential configuration for the Johnson Road intersection. Again, the main objectives of realigning the Johnson Road intersection are eliminating this really severe skew. So when you're stopped at Johnson Road trying to turn onto Stafford, you have to turn your head more than 90 degrees. That's kind of a dangerous situation. It's not ideal. So realigning it to come into Stafford at a 90-degree angle. And then another thing with the existing configuration, in addition to the skew, is that it's very steep. So I think we got feedback from you guys last time that particularly trucks that are going northbound on Stafford have a hard time turning right onto Johnson because of the skew and because of how steep it is. So this proposed configuration eliminates that skew and also is a more gradual slope as compared to the existing configuration. And then, like I mentioned, we would also be adding a southbound left turn lane, which will help relieve congestion on Stafford Road. So that's kind of the main areas we've been focusing on. I'm only presenting the alternatives that have made it this far. We've looked at a lot of other options, different configurations, and these seem to be the best bang for our buck to meet all of the design criteria and the objectives of the project. In terms of what the next steps are, the county is working on getting a 30% design completed based on kind of these graphics I'm showing you. And there's a lot of design reports that go along with that and environmental studies and all that kind of stuff. We're hoping to be able to put together a virtual open house that'll be online. And all these graphics will be there for you to look at in detail and spend time reviewing. And there'll also be some more explanation of how we got to these configurations and the trade-offs between the different options. And we're hoping to have that up online in the next month or two. So that's kind of our goal. So that's about all I've got in terms of an update. Is there any questions? Richard?
Hi, Rich Fiala, Johnson Road resident. I got several questions for you.
Sure.
So inside the staff, which of the two options is actually favored between the signal and the roundabout?
Well, I wish I could give you a straight answer, but we haven't come to a definitive answer on that. And actually,
well, I understand not definitive, but is one leading the other?
So one of the things we're going to incorporate into that virtual open house I was talking about is a place for everyone to provide feedback. So we would like to hear from all of you what your preference might be, a roundabout versus a signal. And we're going to provide more detail on the webpage as to what the benefits and the negatives of the two different options might be to help kind of inform you more.
Sure. Can I continue?
Sure.
Great, thank you. With the signal at Childs, what is the anticipated backup footage for northbound traffic on Stafford Road during the rush hour timeframes? So from Childs, how far south will it go?
That's a great question, and I will have to look that up for you. There's probably a 50-page report called an intersection control evaluation.
Sure.
They run simulations. We always build to the design year. We don't build to the current traffic. So we project out 40 years. That's usually what our design year is. And so I can look that up for you and get back to you on that.
The reason
then
I
they-
asked that one, I appreciate it. The reason I asked that specific one is because currently traffic's backing up there already. And with the signal, I would anticipate that you could have even more length of backups reaching down as far as the Tualatin River Bridge. Just a comment. So the last question on Childs for you would be, you guys have talked to Metro about that configuration because of you're running over their property.
So we've made preliminary contact with Metro.
Okay.
And it's up to the county to prove to Metro why our preferred alternative is the best and only reasonable option.
Fair enough.
So part of that decision-making is going to be feedback from the public, which we're hoping to be able to collect in the next month or two, like I said. And then some other, we have like a evaluation matrix that we'll probably put on the virtual open house and kind of goes through all this criteria like safety, property impacts, environmental impacts, all those types of things.
Great. I got one last one for you and I'll be done. How's that? So down at Johnson, how many feet into the hillside will Johnson move to the east from its current position?
So let's see. This is a proposed retaining wall and that's 100 feet, 1, 2, 3. So are you talking about right in here?
No, I'm talking from where Johnson's roadbed is today, that area, but where Johnson's roadbed is today, how far towards will the new Johnson Road be moved east? In your description down page, in your presentation.
So
go down to where it
kinda hard to
says
see.
2 to 1 daylight. 2 to
Yeah,
1 daylight on Johnson Road.
yep. So
That
right now we're showing a retaining wall, but we're most likely gonna get rid of the retaining wall because we can save over $1 million doing that. And it'll
It's a high
probably be
bank though.
What's that?
It's a high bank.
It is. And we would catch about 30 feet off of the Johnson Road shoulder, the proposed shoulder. So somewhere out in here.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Thank you for your time.
Going back to your question about, a signal at Childs. One of the things that'll help mitigate that backup of traffic, like you're saying, northbound on Stafford, is that we'll be adding this dedicated left turn lane. And so a lot of the backup, maybe people stopped to take a left turn. And so if we add that left turn lane, people will be able to keep going through on a green. Just a thought.
Jonathan, let's keep our fingers crossed on that one, okay?
Yeah.
No, I get it. I understand the relevancy of it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Does Bill have a question? Yeah, thanks, Richard.
Bill had to unmute. So I've been really impressed with both the Borland and the Rosemont to Stafford roundabouts. And I was involved once with a signal that we were going to put up by the Rosemont Fire Station, which at the time, and this is 30 plus years ago, it was a lot of money. And but it sounds like from a dollar standpoint, you think that it would be less money to do the signal than it would be to do the roundabout. And I assume that that's just because the construction aspect, I mean, signals in and of themselves are wicked expensive. But this did I understand that right? That would be the lesser of the two costs?
Yeah, so this signal configuration shown for total cost is very comparable to the roundabout option that I showed.
Oh, okay.
And so in general, roundabouts cost more to build than signals. The reason in this particular instance why the signal and the roundabout option are comparable is because the signal option has more right-of-way costs. So more property has to be acquired for the footprint of the construction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I would imagine that typically that's not the case, that, I mean, you're making a bigger intersection out of it with the signal, but I would think a roundabout would typically be more right-of-way cost, just because, I mean, ask for a cook, you know, the thing just keeps growing and, you know, on all sides. By the same token, back to the how effective the two roundabouts are here, they seem to react more quickly to I don't know if pressure is the right word, but to demand and pressure. That is, a signal can be activated, you know, with the, you know, pavement trip. By the same token, that still is a stop or a slow down and a start and a start up again. Whereas the roundabout, you know, if people are on their game, it's more fluid. The choreography is tighter to how they work. But I don't know if that's something that you folk, and you did say, I guess, that they tend to be less accident prone, in the sense that what the accidents aren't at speed like they would be with a signal. It's more you know, more fender benders as opposed to more dramatic accidents. But anyway, that's, you kind of helped me there, because I thought that the signal was I thought the signal, the way you were talking, so that I appreciate the clarity, and that's great that you're going to do a you know, virtual open house. We'll definitely see if we can't put that up on our website, and so people know about it that haven't been in attendance in the meeting. Thanks, John.
Sure. Yeah. Ellen and I are planning to attend one of these meetings again when we have the virtual open house available, so I can kind of just walk through it, and there'll be more material to share. So, does Rick have a question?
Yeah, I've got a couple. First off, I appreciate you and Ellen both showing up again, and you've been very nice to come out and put up with us early on and involving us in this. So I appreciate that. A couple things. Lake Oswego is jackpot in new parks. They have an entrance just on this childhood, yeah, right there. So have you been in contact with them about that piece? And then at the roundabout, they're talking about a development there that is, they're not sure that they have to pay for the improvements at the roundabout. And then if you tack on up the road at the golf course, they're going to be adding an aquatic center, the rec center up there. So there's going to be a lot more traffic than I'm assuming you have been in discussion with them about how and when and who is going to take care of some of those issues.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I don't know if it was you or someone else, because I can't remember all the emails I get, but I think you might have shared some of that with me via email. Right. And I passed that information along to our design engineers, and they threw that into their models and said that it was a small enough increase in peak traffic that it wouldn't change the configuration of the intersection or the roundabout. But they did look at that, and we're aware of that park access that they're currently designing and permitting, and we know we have to work around that. We'll have to either work with the configuration the way it is, or we'll have to rebuild it, and hopefully not rebuild it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Great. Well, thanks for having us again. And if anyone who's listening has questions, good to see. My contact info is not up here, but you guys can feel free to reach out to your normal contacts with the city, or with who would be a good contact, Ellen?
They can reach out to me.
Do you guys have a good way to reach out to us? I'll leave it up to you guys.
I'll put Ellen's email in chat, and then if anyone wants to access that, we can use that. And then I'll make sure the Hamlet board has that, Ellen, in case anyone comes to them with questions.
That would be great. And
Okay.
Bill and all of you, I want to also thank you for allowing us to come again. And if we could have a few minutes at maybe a meeting in July or August, if you're going to be meeting then, we can walk you through the open house and help you spread the word, help us spread the word about the open house so we can get lots of good feedback from residents in the area.
We'll see what we can do, Ellen. Thank you. I mean, again, to both of you, this is the kind of service that I think, a Hamlet can provide as a window into the neighborhood, so to speak, that you guys can, look through and we can even open our windows and listen. So thanks. We'll see how this evolves, and it's nice to be kept apprised of the process and not feeling like a lot of us do with some of the other entities we deal with that we're playing catch up. So thanks, Ellen.
Well, you're really key to this project, so we appreciate it. Thanks, Bill, and thanks everybody.
You bet. You bet. So our final speaker here tonight is Carol Yamada. Before though I turn it over to her so that she can talk to you about what her vision is for Lesher's pollinator garden. I wanted to thank Paul Savas, who I hope is still on. I haven't looked recently, but he checked in and has listened. And so thanks, Commissioner. We appreciate your attendance and your interest and support. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Commissioner Savas is still here, and I did just promote him to speak. If Commissioner Savas, if you wanted to say hi.
Great, thank you. Nice promotion. I think that's reflected actually in a pay increase for Katie Wilson. So well played.
Hey, just want to say hi to everyone. It's been a long time since I've been able to check in and see y'all, and looking forward to a time when we can meet face to face. But it's been a very busy year so far, and hopefully we won't see any great emergencies. But still love y'all and miss y'all. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Commissioner. And I don't know if there'll be all of us, but there'll be a few of us at least that will be in attendance at your meeting a week from tomorrow. I think I do our quarterly update with you folks. So see you then. Carol Yamada, past and ever-present activist and advocate for the world's pollinators. Take it, Carol.
Yeah, hi. Nice to see you guys. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Carol Yamada. I live in the Hamlet. I also joined the Lake Grove Garden Club a couple years ago. And we have a pollinator garden that we take care of up at Lesher Farm. I think it was started by Oregon Tilth, and they kind of left. And then we picked it up 4 years ago. We've added about 40 new plants, and it's run by volunteers. And so it's really beautiful. It's gorgeous, but it's kind of useless because it doesn't have any informational signage. So you just go and you see flowers, and there's so much more potential to educate people on how they can change garden practices and plant for pollinators. Plus, it's right next to the children's garden. So it's like, wow, what a dovetail. You can have pollinator sign that's all about bugs and stuff that kids like, and kind of raise awareness in the future gardeners and farmers of the world about pollinators. So I had this idea for the sign, but which would be something like this, but my concept would also incorporate the underground aspect of what's happening through the seasons. Like left would be spring and right would be fall, and you see the flowers, different flowers blooming, and at the same time a timeline for what bees and butterflies do, how they go underground and they make nests, do that kind of thing. So it would be kind of educational along that line, and also have some tips about things that they need because they're underground, like leaf cover, or don't dig and don't break off your plants too short, that kind of stuff. So that was the plan, to put a sign in like that. And so I've been in contact with Like Us We Go with Megan Big John, who thinks it's a really great idea. Good luck, you know. It's like they don't have any money. They're not going to give me any money. And the garden club, well, our main fundraiser was a plant sale that was canceled last year and is going to be small this year. So we're kind of strapped with money too. But one thing that Lake Oswego can do is help me get pretty inexpensive printing for the sign. And so between the $200 that we do have from the garden club, and hopefully a donation from you guys and a donation from Friends of Lusher Farm, we'd be able to put together about $700. And that should do it. And so, of course, you know, on the bottom of the sign, there would be this thing where it's like a donation from the Stafford Hamlet, and then your tagline, you know, because I've noticed you guys or the Hamlet itself has kind of changed direction from just pure land use into environmental concerns. And I thought, well, maybe you guys would be up for having your name and that kind of thought on a sign that everybody would walk by and see at Lusher Farm. So that's what I'm hoping we can do to improve the community. And I hope you guys take it up in your board meeting and decide. And the money would go to a nonprofit, because Lake Grove Garden Club is a nonprofit for the sign. Does anyone have any questions?
How do you raise your hand here? Here we go.
I can see your sign, your hand.
Yeah, that's almost as good as the little hand emoji. So they're good, because when we talked about this, I don't know, a month or so ago, there was some resistance, and I don't know that it was from Lusher or from whence to the sign itself, but it sounds like that it's being embraced, and that Lusher is even in fact throwing some money into the pot. Is that what you're saying, Carol?
Friends of Lusher Farm.
Friends of Lusher. Okay.
Yeah, not the Parks and Rec. No, I applied for a few grants, but even because the Lusher Farm is outside of the city limits, they wouldn't give it to us.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So what maybe one more resource, and having been involved in other nonprofits, all you can do is ask. And so, you know, depending on what the Hamlet board does and or how that plays out, we as individuals can also give money to this effort, can we not? I mean, you're not going to limit your dollar intake from just
no. I won't limit it. That would be great. Okay. Like I was really heartened because the first estimate I got was $4,000 from the people that do all the like fancy trail signs. But to get it down to $700 is so much more doable. But all donations would be welcome.
Well, I just a chat just came up, and I think she's either in Palisades or McVeigh, but Rick has had contact with one of the Lake Oswego residents, and she just said that she's done a fair amount of grant writing. I don't know how much of that you've done. I know how much I haven't. So maybe when this is over, maybe you can connect with her. But to that end, my point was, I guess, that, you know, we've got other folks listening in here, and they may be able to, or they may not, but they may know somebody that would be passionate about something like this and want to throw some money in the pot. So I know that Carol, my wife, and I would be glad to contribute something. So anyway,
hey, Bill?
Yes.
I can hook Carol up with Maureen's email address and vice versa, and get them talking, because she's down in McVeigh area and is real active and wants to be part of this. So I'll get that stuff to you, Carol.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
There's a question in the audience tonight.
Well, it's $700. I have $200 already in hand, so that leaves $500. And I have a verbal, most likely from Friends of Lesher Farm. So I was thinking, well, if you gave me half, they could give me the other half. Maybe it would look like that. But, or if you gave me $100, maybe they give me $400. There's really no limits. You know, all of the improvements that are happening on Lesher Farm, not all of them, but a big part of them are being funded by Friends of Lesher Farm. They're really the money pit there for the farm. So I didn't know that. And you know who's in charge of Friends of Lesher Farm? Richard Herman, who is Amy's husband. I was like, wow, this world is so small. And she's in charge of the Clematis Society, so it's even smaller. So anyhow, that's a side, but that's the answer to the number of dollars that are left unaccounted for.
Carol, Maureen is in the meeting and she has been promoted to, she had a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Maureen, are you there?
Yes, I am. Carol, I just want to make sure, and Rick kind of pointed out that he and I have been in contact. I'd be happy to help. I've written all kinds of grants, small and large, and you know, I'd be happy to help you with your funding, and even, you know, in upcoming years, I would.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Keep me in mind. Rick will give you my information.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up.
Sure.
Okay, so that's all I have, except everybody plant your sunflower seeds so that the pollinators have something to go to.
I just planted some with my grandson today, so we'll see. That's some sunflower seeds that are probably going to have to be incredibly fertile and aggressive to deal with a guy without the green thumb that I don't have. But good point. Thanks a lot, Carol. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for all your other efforts.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so I don't want to get cocky here, but by golly, we're darn near on schedule. Actually, we're ahead of schedule because we started 5 minutes late. So that being said, we're going to move on to the CPO. That was Carol Yamada, and the CPO chair is Randy Yamada. So basically, the Yamadas just taken over the whole organization here on both sides of the aisle. Take it away, Randy.
Okay, so Mitch, we're wondering if Mitch has any information on the world-class soccer club.
Yes, I could talk to it in brief. Maybe I could share my screen here. Which would be this. I'm not sure if you're seeing that. Oops, let's see, I gotta get rid of this somehow.
Not yet.
There, I see. Okay, oops. So just in brief though, what's really happening with the soccer facility is that right now, both us, the Keep Borland Rural Group and the WFC both have record objections to what the county had submitted to LUBA, because we're waiting in LUBA right now for the appeal against what the county had previously decided. So we're still not scheduled for the meeting, but so I'm guessing that the LUBA or the record objections will get cleaned up in the next couple of weeks. And so I still think we're a couple of months away from actually having a date for LUBA. And just to give you an idea, this is the facility we're talking about, and these are the surrounding farms. Hello. Oh, someone's got. So okay. This is where I live, right here on Eck Road. This is Borland, and this is a pretty large horse riding arena, and it's just dwarfed by the buildings. This is an indoor soccer and area, and these are of course the three soccer fields that they want to put in. For us, there's no way it fits in RR FF5 rural residential farm forest, 5 acres. But somehow the county thinks differently. This is just another view. This is our property here. This little area here is actually a sports court. Happens to be at this is the house of Damon Stoudemire, who is the ex-NBA player, and this is a sport court that he had. And somehow the county thinks that this sport court or these 3 sports fields are similar use to the sport court. That's basically one of their analysis. But I don't know how 236,000 square feet of fields with 5,000 people per week is similar, but this is what we're up against for Luba. And this is just some ideas of what the place will look like. 1.2 acres of buildings, 5 acres of fields, 2.4 acres of the parking lot. The front view as you enter in from Borland Road. And this is what I did for a simulation is this really is kind of like Borland Road runs about here. This is a simulation I tried to do of what this will look like. This is one field. If you see the goalpost at your end, it looks like more than one, but it's just one field. This is a football field. There's going to be 3 of these, 2 more of these behind there, and then the buildings behind that. And that's what's, of course, we don't have street lights in our area. So this is kind of what we're up against. I don't know how, the county's made their decision. So now I just hopefully Luba is not going to agree with that, but we're still waiting for the schedule. I want to give you a brief update of what this thing looks like. And then we can move on to something more important. And I'll unshare here somehow. How do I do that? How do I unshare? Oh, share. There we go. Okay. What's up, Randy?
Okay. Let's see. I think the CPO Summit update, and I sent it out to everyone. Hopefully you took a quick look at it. Just to run through really briefly what the subjects they covered were the voting down the vehicle registration fee, tolling for freeways has come later after the initial construction work on the freeways in order to pay for the whole thing. And they were talking about a Clackamas County Climate Action Plan, which was field burning issues and to reduce the field burning to 0 emissions and carbon neutral sort of thing. And maybe they have some machinery to do that. They were talking about fire emergency issues after last year's fire season and the sheriff's response, and some information about inactive CPOs. They want to reactivate them. And they have a similar situation with the Zoom meeting moderator is going to not do their meetings anymore, and so they're going to have to figure out how to do their own Zoom meetings. And they had some discussion also about code enforcement, which sounded to me mostly like troublesome neighbors. And then I asked about the 20-day response time on zoning applications. And Karen says that there's actually, if you request an extension, you won't get it. But if you just ask for more time, then that will be okay. So it's just a function of semantics, essentially. And if you ask for more time or an extension and don't get it, to give the planning director a call, because she is saying that the planning director, Jennifer Hughes, knows more about the situation and can resolve the problems with the information that's going to the actual planners that you would be talking to if you called in. So that's, I mean, I think that's pretty good information because we have a lot of little zoning applications that are coming in that if we have the 20 days, we aren't going to get to them. So and so that's about it for the CPO. And then we have new CUP applications or new zoning applications. And I think Mitch has been sending out information on those. So if Mitch, you could give a summary on those.
Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, I sure can, Rennie. There's 3 of them. I don't think they're not necessarily in the order that that you have on your agenda. In fact, there's actually 4 of them. There's one more new one, and I'm going to share the screen again. Right. Let me quickly share my screen so it might be quicker. And share. This is actually a new one that just came in, and I sent it around. This is Woodbine Road, and this is Wisteria. So they basically have a 10-acre property, and it's owned by, it looks like a development company actually, and they want to divide the 10 acres, which is the whole piece, into 2 parcels. This is RRFF-5 zoning. I mean, personally, if it's 10 acres and they want to make it 2 5s, I don't, and they want to put single-family homes on there, and they've looked at the different sites for the homes, and they have some kind of a professional has done that. I don't personally see any issue with that. But people can object, or we don't necessarily have to take a vote. I don't know how we actually handle that. But that's the one that just came out. If people have concerns about it, they can go to the county, or if we want to take a vote, we could do that too. I'm not sure what we should do, Randy.
Well, I think that unless the developers come to us or neighbors come to us and voice some kind of a complaint or make a request, I don't think we should take a vote on this. It looks like the county is going to accept the plan for review, and let's just see what their review is. And that's about all we can do at this point, I think.
I think they'll issue a decision, and then it can be appealed or not. It's basically what's going to happen, I think, how these things
right
work.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, of course, people can input objections or comments to the county too. And I'm not thinking that this seems like it's within the rights of someone to divide their 10 acres into 5 in a RRFF5 property. So I'm not sure it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think they've given that. In the application, they note that it's not a conditional use request, or they don't have other issues related to that. The other 3, I think we talked about all of the other 3.
Well, this one we did, was on the agenda, and I'm not sure why we voted on this last time, actually. So this one,
I don't think we need to go for that.
Okay, I agree with that. And then this is just one that came up. It's actually been approved as far as I know, and this is the what is it, 88 foot cell tower for communications for the county. That's going to be in the property here. You can see this is Atherton. Here's the roundabout at Stafford and Rosemont. No one objected to it, so I don't think there's much to really be done about it unless you would wish to appeal. Just FYI at this point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And then this is one that there was actually the input. This is one that they want to divide. This is Rosemont Road here. So right above Rosemont Road. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this area. They want to divide a property, and there's something called a 4. And John McKay probably knows it much better, but they want to divide the property into two different properties, two homes instead of one on the property. And apparently they have some kind of a reason or that they can do it. It's something called, I'm sorry, I have to go back up top. It's what's it called? There's a kind of a grandfather type of thing that
Is
they're
it
trying to.
measure 49?
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah, thank you, Randy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they have a measure of 49, and they think, and that basically allows them grandfather to do this kind of thing, even though maybe it wouldn't be allowed. And so I don't see any argument about it because they seem to have all their ducks in a row.
Can you scroll to the site plan screen? There's like it shows the subdivision and the it's connected onto the corner of a cul-de-sac, apparently. There it is. That thing. I think the only issue is it doesn't look like they're talking about connecting into the little roadway that's adjacent to the site, which comes up. Yeah, that one where your arrow is. They're looking at connecting into the cul-de-sac.
I think this looks like an access they're trying to add or something
It does.
to me.
Yeah, connecting the sites to the cul-de-sac, and whether I think the only thing that the county was requesting was they get permission to, they have the permission to connect to that cul-de-sac.
Right.
Excuse me, this is Rich. Where is this at?
This.
Okay, let's see if I can.
It's up on top, like Skylands or something, way up on top.
Let's see. I have some kind of a.
We have there's a road that is on here that.
Right. It's right.
Katians. It's
I should see that.
Or not new, but.
Mitch, can you zoom into that one more time?
I can look down further down below. There's probably another section, Rich. Here it is, maybe. Merrillhurst Heights Park. That makes something. And here's the site here.
Yeah, so that's City of West Lynn.
Right.
To the.
It's a separation. This is it. The site is in the hamlet, and the rest is the City of West Lynn, where they're connecting into. So there's some real issue on whether the HOA or the homeowners association, I think, is going to let them connect to that thing, and they're connecting to the cul-de-sac.
And so on this map, as it's marked, it says site. Right. They want to divide that per the previous map that I saw and make a right of way, i.e. the bottom lot would be a flag lot.
Right.
Okay. And what is the total acres of that?
It's only 35,000 square feet, which is it's each half. It's under 1 acre for each one, just barely. Yeah.
Right, Rick, it's a measure 49.
Understand that, but they also have to be able to get septic tank unless they're applying to the city to bring that in or provide service.
Right.
And your 35,000 square feet, is that the number?
For each one, roughly, yeah.
Well, okay, somebody who has a better brain working this evening than I, how much of an acre is that?
That's probably 8.8 acres or something like that. Yeah.
7.8.
Each one is 0.8 acres.
Yeah.
Okay.
44,000 square feet is an acre, so 30.
Right.
Okay, so so their plan and what they're asking for as a county is to approve a split of that based on a measure 49 claim.
Correct.
Have they petitioned the city yet?
Oh yeah, it's just this is the application. I don't know.
That was the county application.
Yeah, so I don't know how.
Okay, hang on, let me read that just a second. Sorry, I didn't look at what got sent out. My apologies.
No worries.
Okay, what it was is they are right next to the city. And my situation, what I felt is the city of West Lynn, if you really want to annex it, you just have to be voted in. And I'm like, why are they doing it this way? Putting in a septic field, putting in their well, when they can just join the city and say, and it'd be done a lot easier.
John, they can't join the city because they're in the hamlet.
Right. They've had others that
They aren't completely surrounded.
They'd have to be annexed.
Well, but they're in the hamlet. The hamlet is locked.
I mean,
one of the things it could be is that this property is not surrounded by the city, as in lots inside the city that are surrounded.
Rich, it is
that
not.
aren't in the city themselves.
Right, it is not, but.
No, I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling, looking for
Okay,
something.
On two of the sides of the land is the city of West Lynn. And one of the things was in order to get this,
right.
The city of West Lynn had to agree that they can use that road as exit entrance, which I was like to join the city.
Oh, okay. So guys, I'm gonna cut this off because we got more turf to cover, and this is a nice discussion, but you know, we're going nowhere. Bottom line, we got Jeff Goodman watching this thing. He knows what the three-way says, and if Lake Oswego has to get a special, I don't know, special issue just to bring Lesher into their turf, there's no way that in the three-way they're going to let anybody take anything in, surrounded or not. I mean, that's the whole reason for the three-way, is where it stands now is where it stands unless all three cities agree. So I don't think these guys have any choice but to come to the county, and if they get to, you know, use the roadway as their access, that's fine. But I mean, again, we need to move on and do some history, some homework, and then come back. So go.
And I think we talked about the next issue would be, we talked about this additional time to respond. And the next small thing, I just want to get this, is that on Sunny Slope Open Space, which is on Childs Road, it's a LO Parks Department owned property, and it's trail bike groups are constructing a network of BMX and mountain bike trails on the site, and they say they have LO, that the Lake Oswego Parks Department has allowed them to build the trails in exchange for clearing the ivy from the open space. Carol, my wife, Carol Yamada, is checking with the Parks Department for information on the trails. No response to this date. So the Sunny Slope is a special protection natural area in the LO open space plan. And on the Metro maps, it's a slide area and Class B upland wildlife habitat. We just have to wait and see what kind of response the city is going to give. If they don't give a response, then we'll probably have to come to the hamlet and request a response to the hamlet. But that's just just what's happening right now. And next month we'll see what has transpired and then address it at that time if we need to. If the Parks Department has everything, organized and they're okay with this, then, that's another thing. So the next issue is an update on the um, Rosick Park. And maybe we could, I think Rich has got all of the information on this. And if we could bring Rich back, or Rick back, Rick Cook. And what we would like to do is present the Rosick Park options, which there were 3 options, and that were presented at the PAC meeting, which is the Parks and Recreation designated advisors or community responders meeting. And we also have one option that has been developed by the Hazalia Agricultural Heritage Trail Working Group. And Rick knows a lot about that. And so I don't know if you're going to present Rick, I don't know exactly how you want to do this. I will eventually read a proposal that was for the Hamlet to give the PAC committee, the public advisory committee. And but I think Rick has to explain the different proposals and the kind of the rationale for the proposals, because he's been right in there in developing that, and he has the graphics for it, or the photos. So what do you think, Rick?
That's fine. Hey, Randy, if I can just show that, if you want to read that.
Let me read the part after we do the show the presentation.
Okay.
Because that way people have a really good grasp of what we're getting at here.
Okay.
And I think can you show the
so that's the letter that we sent, and everybody should have got that, and hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory, but Randy can read that. I'll just jump straight to the design piece real quick.
Right.
So,
let's take a look. Can you first show the the 3?
Yes. Can everybody see this?
And maybe I can just kind of quickly explain the options that the landscape architects presented. And the first option, which Rick has his cursor floating around on, has the access coming off of Atherton Drive, which heads on up into subdivisions, and as it continues, and also it has the parking right alongside the natural area. And my thought on the parking in that position was that the parking has to be pretty level, so the cars aren't really tilted, but the site is very tilted there. So there's going to be a lot of excavation and fill. And the other comment I have on this layout is that the athletic field is in a pretty reasonable location if you have to have the athletic field, but First, I think something I forgot to mention early on was that this athletic field idea is already set. There's not an option of, do we have an athletic field or do we not have an athletic field? The funding set, everything they've hired the landscape architects, and we're just coming in on the tail end of this thing, and everything is so the only real issues that we can deal with is exactly how these elements are positioned. And so the first two have the parking in the natural or adjacent to the natural area, and the traffic coming onto Atherton Drive. And actually, we think that's going to be the traffic is going to be a real problem with the neighborhoods adjacent. And on the third option, option number 3, which is the option that most people in the pack are really really focused on. They feel that it's a very good option because it has an additional baseball field. And even though the parking is over by the road, it still comes off of Atherton Drive, or the access to the parking still comes off of Atherton Drive. And the athletic field, the big multi-use athletic fields comes very close to the creek line. And also in these 3 options, there's no like public picnic or family area. They're using the site primarily for sports field, and the park has a riparian area by the stream that would be a really nice area for picnic and family activities, playground, and playground meaning like children's playground. And so Rick developed a plan whereby the traffic, it comes off of Stafford Road, and it doesn't directly route through the neighborhoods. And the Stafford Road, of course, being the main arterial. And there's a picnic area adjacent to the riparian area, and also children's playground area adjacent to the riparian area. And the athletic field sits back from the picnic and playground area, and the parking sits closer to Stafford Road. And the lighting is coming from the south side. Well, is this the south side? This is the east side or the west side, Rick. And then this is the north side, as opposed to directly facing Atherton. And so we think that due to the fact that you have a better way to terrace the entire property with the parking high, the multi-use athletic field a little bit lower, the picnic area a little bit lower, and the playground a little bit lower. You can terrace it so that it impacts the natural area a lot less, as opposed to having either parking adjacent to the natural area or a big athletic field right adjacent to the athletic area. So there are many positives to this layout, given the fact that you have to have the athletic field. And so Rick, why don't you make some, you had a lot of other ideas. One other thing was that there were comments about sound. And I think that that to respond to the sound in a design format, it's going to take, Mitch says it's going to take a sound study. And I really agree with that, because a sound study would not only give the community an idea of how impactful the sound is going to be from the facility, but it would give the designers ideas of how to mitigate the sound. When you look at the 3D or the aerial photograph, you can see that the Rossix property is really adjacent to the Atherton neighborhood, and it's adjacent to Rick's house. It's adjacent to, is this a church, Rick?
Church is here.
Yeah, it's adjacent to the church, and just beyond the church, there's a retirement facility. So sound and light, athletic field lights, they're going to be 80 feet high. Those elements are really something that that needs to be analyzed by the design team. And Rick is scrolling up to can you float the cursor over the Rossix so everyone can get all right? And the roundabout area, and you can see the quantity of athletic fields adjacent to this athletic field. And also, the athletic field also is adjacent to Lusher Farm, which I think, Rick, is that like a historic farm?
It's a historical landmark on it, but it's not on the National Register yet.
And your place is on the National Register.
Yes.
And when they do the historical assessment,
the cultural assessment.
Yeah, the cultural assessment, that really should, I think, include definitely the Lusher Farm, and it has to include your farm. So those are the basic elements. But Rick knows so much more about the area because he lives there. So I'll let Rick explain how he feels about this, and not just how he feels, but the knowledge he has of this area.
Well, and just real quick, that this is something I've sent out early, but finally this morning, I finally put down and said, well, let's just number these. So actually, I took a picture of this, okay, which is the field at Hazelia Field. You got the 2 dog parks and of course, all the agriculture area, and just slap that field here. Well, if you look at their design number 3, where they want this field turned sideways and then the baseball field, I don't know how they can fit all that in there. So that would be option 3 here, where they're saying they can have the field and then a baseball field on top of it.
It does seem out of scale, but somehow they would have to reduce the size of the actual sports playing area, which I think is possible, but it wouldn't meet the sports standards for those for soccer or baseball or those kinds of things. If it were smaller, if it's for kids, maybe they can do that.
And just real quick, because I know we're running short on time, I can feel Bill staring at me here, but this is the sensitive land area. And in talking with the trail group, we decided that, you know what a better place to put someone in charge of the sensitive land piece than the Grand Ronde tribe. So that is one of the big things that we're pushing hard with that. And if you really look at everything on what we've suggested they take into, other than having the Grand Ronde actually oversee this, they can still build their park, they can still do everything, and they don't need to put the Grand Ronde tribe on a timetable to say, this will be yours, deed it back to them, and say, fine, when you become, yeah, it has to be protected. Well, who's going to better protect it than the Grand Ronde tribe? If you look at everything we have here, it is elements from all these three. We have just reconfigured it where it actually takes advantage of having the actual habit or the wilderness habitat and that wildlife corridor. If you put that parking lot come in here and the entrance here, you're going to eliminate that. And some people have seen the picture of the two deer up on the hill today where they had a big tractor in there. So those things are going to go away. But if you actually look at what we're trying to get them to do is actually, there's a ton of dirt that they've stored there from other things. So they're talking about mounds, that's fine. They can put parking in at the top, which to me makes sense because then they're talking about overflow from other, when the swimming pool and all those other activities happen, they would have overflow parking. If they put the parking lots down here, the overflow parking is going to become an issue because people are going to be walking through the roundabout or trucking all the way up or coming here. And as soon as you put that entrance in here, you are inviting traffic through the neighborhood. So it gives them a playground area, the picnic area, the parking surrounding that, and putting it on this side where, you know, that's where the noise is. So keep it away from the sensitive land over here. The other piece that you just want to touch on, Rilla, there is concern and people thought, well, let's cram as much stuff as we can in here. And that's one of the issues I have with Lake Oswego right now. Just like at the pool, they say, hey, make it as big as we can because that's how we'll recover our money. But on this piece, they're putting in pickleball courts, they're putting a basketball court and a skate park, a play area, and there is no family-oriented picnic area anywhere in this area. It's all sports fields, open space. There's not a place where a neighborhood person could say, hey, we're going to take the family down, ride our bikes and have a picnic. So that's pretty much in a nutshell for me. And if you have any questions, or Randy, maybe it's time to read the.
Yeah, just one thing, Rick. Can you scroll back to the aerial?
Sure.
Photograph.
Oops. This one or this one?
I think, yeah, the aerial, this one, that one right
Okay.
there, right there. You know, one thing we didn't completely explain, I think, Rick, was that the Pecan Creek headwater, or where it starts, is a continuation where it says wildlife habitat corridor. That is a continuation of a wildlife area that continues all the way down to the Tualatin River and extends all the way up over the top of Cook's Butte. And it also, the river extends all the way up, corridor extends all the way up the Tualatin Valley and down to the Willamette River. So this is this Pecan Creek, which is adjacent to the sports cart, is really an integral part of that entire wildlife system. So,
and one other thing is they're talking about running the sewer underneath the headwaters of Pecan Creek, what I have issues with, but that's another battle that the city can deal with.
Okay. So, do you want to go over the Rick? Do you want to go over the? I think we hit all of the elements though.
Yeah.
With the Resig Park HAC HT design. So maybe I should read the letter. And so after discussing the Lake Oswego Parks and Recreation options recently placed on the Resig Park webpage, the Stafford Hamlet Board feels that the Hazalia Agricultural Heritage Trail Working Group's option better reflects the community vision plan recently passed by the Stafford Hamlet. It would truly embrace the vision of conservation and active agriculture in the region. The new aquatic center, parks, recreation complex, and offices, along with the improved golf course, will have a large imprint on the area. Traffic is always a concern in the region, and we encourage you to work closely with Clackamas County when considering solutions for issues that these projects create for the area. Improvements to local roads under the county jurisdiction will be years away before any mitigation will occur. Along with traffic concerns, the protection of watershed and wildlife areas that are situated on the Reseek property must be a major consideration for protection. Traffic lights and noise will have significant impacts on wildlife movement and habitat in the area. That being stated, a natural neighborhood family-oriented park would be the best fit for the area. We appreciate the opportunity to be heard and also work with our neighbors of the surrounding neighborhood associations to fully understand and trust you will be thoughtful how development in the area will impact us all. The Stafford Hamlet and the Stafford Tualatin Valley Community Planning Organization support how the elements of the HACHT option are configured. It incorporates elements from other options that embrace aspects for all to enjoy. A park that will provide a multi-sport field, protect watershed, wildlife, and provide the first family-based neighborhood park for recreational use in the area. We look forward to seeing other possible additional elements when the cultural resource assessment study is completed for consideration and implementation. The Hamlet and CPO look forward to hearing the input from the Public Advisory Committee design team, Parks and Rec staff after review of the HACT option. Thank you again for including the Hamlet and CPO and providing input for the planning of the Reseek property. Okay, and then Rick, we're gonna, this is being sent to the PAC, Parks Department, and it's going to be an open letter to the Hamlet. And
just so everybody understands, Randy, just to be sure that they understand that you are the go-between between the Hamlet CPO and the PAC, which the PAC, the Public Advisory Committee, actually takes those things forward. So that's why we're presenting this tonight, and hopefully that we will get a thumbs up vote on this and that we can have you take this packet to the PAC meeting, your next PAC meeting.
Yes, I think that out of the options that are presented, I just think that we had a chance to take a look at the three Parks and Rec options, and from that we were actually able to distill the positives and negatives of those options into an option that reduces the negatives and accentuates the positive elements, so that the overall layout on the drawing that Rick has is a very, given what there is to work with, it's a very reasonable option. And so how do we take a vote? I don't know how to do that. So do we?
Mitch had his hand up and so does Bill.
Okay, Bill.
You're muted, Bill.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, so is the Atherton neighborhood involved in these discussions? It seems like they should be actively jumping up and down at what they want.
They are kind of waiting for our lead on this, and I'm sure that there's probably a couple people watching tonight that are saying like, okay, as soon as we get this, the official statement, and we
Okay.
were holding off on official statement until we got the three design pieces or the design pieces from them, so we could work on that and get it to them. So this will be delivered tonight to the Palisades Neighborhood Association,
Okay.
and they will run with it. They've been very supportive of our thought.
Yeah, they should be very, very interested, I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Bill.
Yeah. Take a vote, guys. We gotta move this thing along. Just up and down.
Okay.
You got a Hamlet board, you got a CPO board, and if you want to include the residents that are sitting in that are in fact Hamlet members, have at it too. But we need to do this. So take it.
Okay, I can poll the voters if you'd like me to. We need someone to make a motion, and then when we're ready to vote, I'm
Motion.
happy to assist with the voting.
Okay, I make a motion we vote for this.
So when you say that, Randy, I just want to
14.
confirm that you want to support the recommendation.
Right, in the letter.
Okay. So your motion is to draft a letter in support of this recommendation. Okay. Is there a second?
Accept the letter that's written there.
Yeah.
Right.
I second.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead. I'm going to start by polling the attendees, and then we'll go through the board members. So we have a caller with a phone number that ends in 758. Are you a voting member of the Hamlet, and are you voting in favor of this letter? They may not still be there. We will move on. We have Ann C.
Katie, they're muted.
I know, I'm asking them to unmute with a prompt that's coming up. Ann, I'm sending you a message to unmute. Are you able to unmute your screen? And you may not be there. We'll go back. We'll come back. Lisa, are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Hi, Lisa. Are you a voting member of the CPO?
I'm a member of the Hamlet.
Perfect. That means
Yeah.
You're a voting member. Are you voting in favor of the letter?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Christine, are you a voting member of the Hamlet or CPO, and are you voting tonight? You'll need to.
I am not a member of either, so I will not be voting.
Thanks, Christine. We will come back to Anne one more time. Anne, are you there?
Hey,
Ann?
she voted on chat.
Oh,
She says yes.
got it. I see her there. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so we have gone through our attendees who are eligible voters, and we will go through the board now. So I'm going to call the board members. We'll start with John McCabe. John, are you there?
Yes. I vote yes.
Okay. Mitch Jones,
Yes.
Rich Fiala. Okay.
Yes.
Oh. Rich Fiala, are you there?
I voted.
You're cutting out.
Said yes. You didn't hear me.
Okay,
Sorry.
I heard a yes. I heard a yes in there. Katie Kreider,
Yes.
Bill Long,
Yes.
Len,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Andy,
Unmute, Andy.
Yes, there it
he's
is.
giving the thumbs up. Okay. Rick, I see you voted in chat. Yes. Patty
Yes.
and Randy.
Yes.
And it looks like I missed somebody. I didn't realize I missed somebody.
Richard.
Richard. Let me come back in.
Warrant.
I did miss Richard. I apologize. Richard, are you there? Can you
Yeah, I'm
unmute?
here. I was just writing
Okay,
the
I apologize
yeah.
for missing you. Are you voting this evening?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And
I
then
would
I
vote,
also, okay, thank you, Richard.
I would vote to the affirmative for the motion.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so it looks like we've counted all the votes and it's a positive. Randy, that you have your answer. It's all
Okay.
in favor. Okay.
So the next is the Hamlet board meeting, I believe.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, okay. Sorry, sorry for taking all that time.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Rick. There's a caveat with that, but thanks. Something I forgot to mention when Carol Yamada was doing her piece is, and this relates, but I'll slip it in here because there's probably more community members still involved. There's been, the Department of Ag folks have been out setting traps, specifically for gypsy moth and Japanese beetles. So if you see them driving around in their little labeled cars and they're hanging out, they're pretty exotic looking little traps. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep track of these guys. And when they find an area where they're seeing activity, they'll come in and try to deal with it. But anyway, just thought you folks would like to know what was going on, and bless the Department of Agriculture for their efforts. Okay, so we're moving on to the Hamlet board meeting. Thanks everybody for sticking with us. And we have an agenda, which you all seen, and I suppose if we want, we can put it up on the screen, or somebody can. Having looked at this agenda, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I make a motion to approve this agenda as written.
Thanks, Matt. Great. If there's no discussion, then I'm going to ask for a vote on the agenda. Do we have a vote to accept the agenda as written?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Bunch of ayes.
Aye.
Any nays from the board? Okay, thanks, folks. The minutes were sent out from our last community and board meeting by Chris Roth. I've read it. I don't know if most of you have or if some of you haven't, but was a good recollection of what we had going on last month. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes unless there is somebody that wants to make some changes? Great. A motion? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
That's solid. Great. Second?
Second.
Second.
Thanks. Okay, all those in favor of approving the last month's meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a bunch of ayes. Any opposition? Nope. Great. Okay, Bill Long sent out his treasurer's report. some activity, although it was interesting, Bill, and maybe this is because it hasn't changed. You still got February as the starting date for last month's uh, um, bank reconciliation, but the numbers, yeah. Bill Long.
Huh, yeah. I may have sent the wrong one.
No, I don't think you sent the wrong one. I just think you started with the.
Are you sure?
You didn't erase the starting date. No, I don't think so, because it was this month that we paid off Amy Herman for the retreat, which was 5 or 6 months ago, when we just failed to get that check to her. And I think the other one was to Chris Roth, and that was recent. So no, I think everything's. I think the rest of it was fine. But and you had current our trust fund. You had that up to date. So
No change, and I didn't receive anything new.
Okay. And just as an aside, has there been anybody working out as to who goes when over to Gladstone to pick up the mail? Do we have that?
I was in there yesterday.
Not a boy. You didn't see anything?
I'm in there a couple times a month, and we're not getting our U.S. bank statements, but the county test is sending them to us, thank God.
Okay, well, bless their hearts. Thank you.
Yeah, nothing as of yesterday.
Great. So I think we did have a communication meeting, committee meeting. Patty, you want to give us a summary on that?
Hey, Bill, we need to vote on the treasurer's report.
Oh, come on, man.
Quick. I motion to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as written.
Second.
Thanks. Is everybody getting it?
No, you guys, you really don't need me. You could have done this all by yourselves. Okay, all those in favor of approving Bill's treasury report, raise your hands, say aye.
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 Ayes. Anybody opposed to that?
Aye.
Not a boy. A lot of ayes from Bill Long. Thanks, Bill Long. Okay, now we're moving on to committee reports. Patty Manuel.
Yeah, hi. So the Communications Committee met Sunday morning at Rich Fiala's, and we talked about a variety of things. I'm going to just touch on them. We missed Katie Kreider and Tate. We talked about making sure that we try to engage our volunteers. So this is something I'm going to revisit going forward. And I'm going to see if I can't get some help, excuse me, from other members on the committee. I think Bill is going to talk about this later, but he brought up the idea of a retreat. We also talked about neighborhood captains. We've recruited some, and we are working on recruiting some more. Jane Comer, who I see is missing tonight, is volunteered to contact her neighbors. She has some neighbors a couple doors down from her she thinks might be interested. Andy had somebody he thought might be a possibility. Bill has contacted somebody on Grapevine, and so we're going to keep working on that. We also talked about the possibility of doing a farm to table dinner at the Fiala's with Allium providing, the meal, and possibly involving the local wineries, Oswego Hills, Festiva Hills, Tumwater, Twill, and maybe Eugene Cellars. And let's see, Rich was going to check in with Allium on that, so I haven't heard any feedback yet on that. We also briefly touched on the whole Hamlet image identification, and Andy was said that he felt like what Kelsey had going on with the whole sunflower project was really sort of the beginning of perhaps the Hamlet identification. I'm saving her for last because she has her own report. Let's see, I think we also touched on Andy and the reforestation, and I believe that we said we were gonna try to post some information on social media to get people to do some fire prep. And I'm looking at my notes, and something for this fall, maybe to begin thinking about planting this fall. Andy, was that kind of what, is that accurate, or was there more to it?
No, yeah, I think that's the gist. Is right now it's just getting brush off the ground. We're going to try to put together some more information. Kelsey was talking about I think TVF&R, one of the local fire departments, had a guide how to get your land ready, and then that could be kind of in cohesion with getting your land ready, or in concert with getting your land ready for planting in the fall.
Okay. Okay, great. And then let's see, I believe Caroline, who is also not here, has the has the idea of putting together a Hamlet calendar. And so she is she's asking people to submit photos for a photo contest, and we haven't really gotten that off the ground yet. So my job was to get in touch with Tate and see if he couldn't put a something on the homepage, on the web page, the homepage, a link that would go right to that. So I have yet to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. And I think that's about it. I'm going to let Kelsey update you all. She's doing a really fabulous job with the sunflower project, and I'm hoping this is really going to work out well for us. Bill, I think, also is going to mention he wants to talk to you all about a retreat, but if I leave the meeting in a few minutes, don't be offended. My time is pretty much up tonight. So that's basically it unless somebody else has something else they want to add to what I mentioned. Okay. Then is Kelsey next on the agenda?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, go for it. You're doing a wonderful job.
All right. Yeah, so we met briefly a few days ago, and we packed more seeds. So we have a whole bunch more. If anybody hasn't seen them, I don't know if you can tell, but they come in these little packages here. Inside of them is a little card with instructions. So we got a bunch more of those. One of the issues was talking about how to get these out to people and where they could find them. So we discussed that, and we ended up with quite a few good options. So I'm going to give a list of some of the places that you can pick these up, and they are free. So Fourth Quarter Flower Stand has some of these seeds on it. Stafford Ridge Nursery, I believe, as we talked about, has a few of them as well. Patty took some down to the Lake Oswego and West Lynn farmers markets. Cockney Farms on Sweetbriar, they have a little egg stand. There's some there you can pick up. Fiala Farms, we just did a little stand today. We're finishing up, and so that should be up in a little bit where you can pick some seeds up from there. And so Safeway is graciously letting me set up a little stand in front of the store. So it's the Safeway on Salamo Road, and I will be there this Thursday morning. So I called and verified with them from 10:30 in the morning until 11:30 in the morning, and I'll have a little stand there. So if anybody wants to pick up seeds, they can drop by and grab a packet. And yeah, I think we're going to get this off the ground. This is about the time where people want to start planting, so we're really trying to push it out so we can have some really beautiful flowers starting to bloom come this fall. So I think that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Kelsey. I got this little stand that the Fialas had used, I don't know, for shovels or gloves or something on the farm, but they weren't using it anymore. So we converted that into this little thing that we're going to set out by the road on one of the power poles, which I'm sure is probably a punishable offense, but we won't have it up there too long. We're figuring that another six or 7 weeks, and we're going to start to run out of time for sunflowers, unless somebody tells us otherwise. But anyway, Kelsey's done a great job, and she's made some signs to go on this thing, so as people drive down the road, they can see what we're about and engage. And to that end, I don't know if Rich has had an ag committee meeting, but I know for a fact that he's done a bunch of agging on his own place, as well as purchasing a new tractor. So Rich, at least get kudos. If you haven't had a committee meeting, at least get kudos for the new tractor.
Yeah, no committee meeting, but thank you, Bill. It is farm time. Stuff is going in the ground all over the hamlet. I've seen hay being harvested. We put our pumpkins in the ground last Friday, and sweet corn, more to be doing that. We ended up having to get a new tractor, and so we're trying to keep the economy going by investing in equipment and get out there and plant seeds, folks. Thanks.
Thanks, Rich. You too. If you get a chance to swing by, it's pretty impressive. The pots that these guys have put the sprinkler or watering system to. Okay, so I guess we kind of covered the Lake Oswego Palisades. Rick has been working with the Palisades Neighborhood Association, which I don't know that I really understood where they stop and start, but they evidently take in Atherton Heights. So to somebody's question earlier, they're definitely at least involved in this. Outside the borders, I think Randy already addressed the CPO summit. Rick, Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, C4. Anything
Bill,
there?
just real quick, I can do both of those. The C4 meeting, the biggest thing that came away from that was that Valerie Pratt, the council person from Tualatin, was actually elected or voted into the Clackamas Sustainable
Action?
Yeah, it's the Climate Action Plan Task Force. It was a big push because we had one representative from Wilsonville, was the only person west of the Willamette River. And so we pushed hard with the with the 4 mayors to get her on. And anyway, so that happened. And then a lot of stuff with the federal legislation stuff that we can't have or don't have a lot of say in. So that, and then CCI, Katie, she might want to just mention the community leaders meeting.
Sure, we have a community leaders meeting tomorrow night. It will be a little bit different than previous community leaders meetings because CCI has been gracious enough to allow us some leeway to launch a wildland fire debrief process using the community leaders meeting. So there'll be a brief overview of kind of where we're at with the response and recovery, and some steps that have been taken to prepare for this current coming fire season, and then an overview of the emergency operations plan, which is how where a lot of the community feedback will really be most helpful, because we'll be revising that to help us be better prepared for future emergencies and disasters. And that's where we're really hoping that community feedback on this, the last wildfire, the large wildfire we experienced last year, will be really helpful. So this will be the start of a process to engage the broader community We'll have a community-wide listening session after this community leaders meeting. There'll be a board policy session where the BCC will be engaging with some community stakeholders and other agency leaders to take a deeper dive into some of the issues and lessons learned in the last fire. And then we're hoping to have a follow-up community leaders meeting sometime in July to talk more specifically about how CPOs and hamlets can help serve their communities more actively to be more prepared for emergencies, and also help us with response when emergency or disaster does happen. So we couldn't fit it all into one meeting, so it's kind of a series of opportunities to really make sure that we had an open and equitable process. So we hope that if you have feedback on that experience, you participate at some point in that debrief process.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Katie.
Katie.
Sure.
Hey, Bill, I just got one other thing that crossed my mind is for Carol's sign at Lusher, is that something the Hamlet board could vote on tonight? With as
Sure.
much money as we have in the coffers there on our own thing, maybe we could throw a quick vote on that.
Well, if we're going to do that, then we should probably specify we've got something in the $1,300 range, I think, left in the budget, and they'll be rolling over a new budget in our case next. I don't know when the end of the month is, but first of
Could that come out of the trust fund?
Say it again.
Could that come out of the trust fund?
Oh, probably could. I don't know that we usually have gone there if we've got money in our own budget. And the only place I was going is, and Katie Wilson can chime in here, but I think we're going to be in the neighborhood of getting $2,000 from the county, and whatever's left in the budget at the end of the month, then that's, they'll just throw that in and minus that from the 2,000. So essentially you're going to end up with $2,000. So to that end, I guess we could, but I guess where I would go with this is just take it out of our current budget. But we can discuss that. Why don't we do this? How many people, how many board members see value in what Carol's doing? And I don't know. I don't know what she had earmarked for us, but if we could, I don't know, $200, does that seem adequate or excessive? I'm looking for some feedback here. And we got Randy Yamato, who's obviously got a.
I think Carol asked for 400, didn't she?
But that's what she wanted, was 400?
Wasn't Carol asking for 400? Somebody help me here.
I never heard a specific number. I just know that I think what she needed was $700 to get it done, and I think she had 200 from
Friends of.
Yeah, it wasn't Friends of Lesher. Yeah, so I don't know, $400. Do folks want to head down that road?
Got a question for Katie Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Can we take it out of our regular? Is something like this? Are we able to take it out of our regular budget?
Can you tell me,
Our regular
can
number.
you explain to me a little bit more about how specifically the Hamlet money will be used?
Yeah.
Before the contribution towards a sign to be placed at Lusher Farm, educating about pollinators and pollinators.
So that Lesher Farm is within the boundary
Lusher
of the
Farm is
Hamlet?
in the Hamlet.
It's not in the
They're
Hamlet.
in the Hamlet.
It is in the Hamlet. Okay.
No, it is.
You keep cutting
Is this
out,
a gray
Rick.
area?
Rich, I'm sorry.
You have a horrible connection. Let me help you with this. It's in the Hamlet. It is under the control of Lake Oswego Parks and Recreation, but there is also Friends of Lesher. There's also
Sure.
I think that initial money was coming from the Lake Grove Garden Club. I could be wrong, but yeah, so it's definitely on our turf.
Yeah, I think as long as it's being used for the purpose of signage and community education within the Hamlet boundaries, that seems within the reasonable expense for the Hamlet to
Not
participate
to
in.
mention the fact that it goes pretty much right down the line with our new community vision plan, which is
Sure.
in conservation. So
Yeah.
to that end. Anyway, and I do have do I have the budget issue? Is that, I mean, do I
Yeah,
have
so
that?
your money for the next coming fiscal year will be provided to you after July 1st. That's when dollars will be, you know, sent out to our hamlets. So, and you're correct. If any money left over from this year's budget will be deducted from, so you'll end up with $2,000 in your account. So if you have money left over, then that will be deducted from what we contribute in the coming year. So
Okay, so
choose wisely.
see, this is why you want to have your legal counsel with you at all times. Thank you very much, Katie Wilson.
You're welcome.
And the
What,
money
Bill?
worth every penny. What, Rich?
What's our balance?
Balance is 1,300.
What
is it not,
is
Bill? Bill Long, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, we've got 1334 in the kitty. 3 months minutes are 375. We're going to be hanging around $1,000 pretty quick. So $400 is 40% of our funds. I'm in favor of personally donating 100, but if we're going to donate money, I would certainly like some signage on the sign crediting Friends of the Hamlet.
And Carol said that was going to be the case, so. Yeah, so Bill Long, if I'm reading this right, just so we're clear, we started out with a bit over $2,000, 2,084 going in, and we spent 750, and now we're looking at 1,334 going out. So you've already got Kate Ross and Amy Herman's money taken out of that. So we're at 1,334 with those being subtracted. If I'm reading this right, and you know, I'll throw $100 in too. So Bill Long's in for 100. I'm in for 100. If you guys are good with 400, it seems like we've almost got Carol covered. All right.
I move that the Hamlet contribute $400 from our bank account towards the signage at Lusher Farm.
There you go.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. We just did it. Thanks, guys. And Carol Yamada's efforts are being rewarded, and justly so. Thanks so much. Okay, we're getting close here. Okay, the rest of this is upcoming activities. So next Wednesday, so the day's the 8th, I think that's the 16th. We got 5 minutes to tell the county commissioners what we're up to and what we've been up to, which I will try to do. I will also bring up the fact that we have a new diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, and how we're trying to apply that in our lives going forward, which a little bit of that just showed up tonight, and trying to get the Grand Ron on board to help us with our Rick's and Randy's new design efforts at Receipt Park. And you can tune in on that if you have any interest. But I'm going to bring Carolyn Comer as I'm going to go in person, but I'm going to see if Carolyn will be able to come and be in on a Zoom so that they can meet her. The retreat, I'd like to do a retreat. I have to hook up with Amy Herman, but I didn't want to do that. If you folks thought that it was either not needed or a particularly bad idea, it's going to cost us some money and some time. But I was hoping that if we did a pretty thorough job before the retreat of recapping what we've done for the last 6 months, that the retreat would only go for an hour and a half. And it can probably, at this point, either be Zoom or in person, given that I think most everybody's vaccinated. If they're not, they can wear a mask. We can discuss that now. We can discuss that online, but I just wanted it in front of everybody that I feel like there's huge value in us connecting some dots halfway through and see how we're doing, and what the challenges are at the moment and what they are in the future. So any input on that one? Here, let me ask it a different way. If we have a retreat, will you come?
Yes.
All right, there we go. And I mean, that doesn't get any simpler than that. All right, I'll start putting it together, and I'm assuming that for most people, a weekend is probably going to be better. Whether you're working or not, at least if you've got kids, you got backup. And July and August meeting. So historically, that isn't something that we've done. I think we did do it last year, actually, now that I look back, but whatever. I can't see with all the traffic that's coming through the CPO I guess they could have their own meeting, without us, but it just feels like that we need to have those two meetings. And as long as we're staying virtual, at least, there isn't going to be any expense associated with it other than, the effort to put it together. Any input, feedback on that?
Because of the CPO stuff, I say we do it.
Anybody else?
Bill, I move that we have a July and August meeting scheduled.
Great, Lynn. I got a second?
Second.
Great, thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bill Long, got a boy. Okay, we're doing it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all your efforts. So that means that the next meeting is July 13th. The following meeting is August 10th. Thanks to all of you that came and went through this with us. And thanks all the folks that sat out in the audience and went through this with us. So we're a Hamlet. We made it through another meeting. Bless our hearts. Okay, see you hopefully before next month, and I'll be in touch with you about when we can do a retreat and get an agenda together. Thanks, guys. Anything else? Is there anything I'm leaving out, or anything anybody wants to add? Other than night.
Oh, Andy has something.
Oh, just the only thing I had was that there was no sheriff's report this month. I didn't hear back from them, so don't sweat it. There was no crime this month.
Bill, Mark, you're on mute, so you look like you're saying something enthusiastically, but
No. I was just gonna say you could have skated. I blew it, and you could have just stayed like right under the radar. But anyway, thanks. Yeah, Andy did try to reach out to him, but they didn't. No response. Hard to. But I think they figured they spent enough time with the big guns last month. Okay. Anything else? Thanks, Katie Wilson. Thanks, Katie Kreider. Good night. Where's the leave button?